Martin Luther King Jr. lived from January 15th, 1929 to April 4th, 1968. Was born Michael Luther King Jr., but later had his name changed to Martin. His grandfather began the family's long tenure as pastors of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, serving from 1914 to 1931. His father has served from then until the present, and from 1960 until his death, Martin Luther acted as co-pastor. Martin Luther attended and segregated public schools in Georgia. Graduating from high school at the age of 15, he received the BA degree in 1948 from Morehouse College, a distinguished Negro institution of Atlanta from which both his father and grandfather had graduated. After 3 years of theological study at Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, where he was elected president of a predominantly white senior class, he was awarded the BD in 1951. With a fellowship won at Crozer, he enrolled in graduate studies at Boston University, completing his residence for the doctorate in 1953 and receiving the degree in 1955. In Boston, he met and married Coretta Scott, a young woman of uncommon intellectual and artistic attainments. 2 sons and 2 daughters were born into the family. In 1954, Martin Luther King became pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. Always a strong worker for civil rights for members of his race, King was, by this time, a member of the Executive Committee of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the leading organization of its kind in the nation. He was ready then, early in December 1955, to accept the leadership of the first great Negro nonviolent demonstration of contemporary times in the United States. The bus boycott, described by Gunnar John in his presentation speech in honor of the laureate. The boycott lasted 382 days. On December 21st, 1956, after the Supreme Court of the United States had declared unconstitutionally the laws requiring segregation on buses, Negroes and whites rode the buses as equals. During these days of boycott, King was arrested, his home was bombed, he was subjected to personal abuse, but at the same time, he emerged as a Negro leader of the first rank. In 1957, he was elected president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization formed to provide new leadership for the now burgeoning civil rights movement. The ideals for this organization he took from Christianity, its operational techniques from Gandhi. In the 11-year period between 1957 and 1968, King traveled over 6 million miles and spoke over 2,500 times, appearing wherever there was injustice, protest, and action. And meanwhile, he wrote 5 books, as well as numerous articles. In these years, he led a massive protest in Birmingham, Alabama, that caught the attention of the entire world, providing what he called a coalition of conscience, and inspiring his Letter from a Birmingham Jail, a manifesto of the Negro Revolution. He planned the drives in Alabama for the registration of Negroes as voters. He directed the peaceful march on Washington, D.C. of 250,000 people to whom he delivered his address, "I Have a Dream." He conferred with President John F. Kennedy and campaigned for President Lyndon B. Johnson. He was arrested upwards of 20 times and assaulted at least 4 times. He was awarded 5 honorary degrees, was named Man of the Year by Time magazine in 1963 and became not only the symbolic leader of American blacks, but also a world figure. At the age of 35, Martin Luther King Jr. was the youngest man to have received the Nobel Peace Prize. When notified of his selection, he announced that he would turn over the prize money of $54,123 to the furtherance of the civil rights movement. On the evening of April 4th, 1968, while standing on the balcony of his motel room in Memphis, Tennessee, where he was to lead a protest march in sympathy with striking garbage workers of that city, he was assassinated. Selected bibliography: Adams Russell, Great Negroes Past and Present; Bennett Lauren Jr., What Manner of a Man, A Biography of Martin Luther King; I Have a Dream, The Story of Martin Luther King in Text and Pictures; King Martin Luther Jr., The Measure of a Man, Philadelphia; King Martin Luther Jr., Strength to Love; King Martin Luther Jr., Stride Toward Freedom, The Montgomery Story; King Martin Luther King Jr., The Trumpet of Conscience; King Martin Luther Jr., Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community; King Martin Luther Jr., Why We Can't Wait; Man of the Year, Time 83; Martin Luther King Jr., in Current Biography Yearbook, 1965. Reddick Lawrence D. Crusader Without Violence, A Biography of Martin Luther King Jr.